Malachi. At the start of 2019, the United Methodist Church officially opposed homosexuality, same-sex marriage, and self-avowed gay pastors. This weekend, the official stance could change.
16 delegates from South Carolina will join hundreds in St. Louis for a special session to vote on changing the church's bylaws.
7 News reporter Kimberly Brown has our story.
The United Methodist Church has been in front of social issues since their inception. John Wesley started the church in the 1700s. They built schools for the underserved children and literacy centers to help educate. In the early 1800s, Methodism split over slavery. Many members in the North opposed slavery, while those in the South wanted to keep it. Later, the church was active in the civil rights and anti-war movements, along with support of universal health care. And in 2019, they face another crossroads, and some say that this could split the church once again. Beneath the layer of musical unity lies a discussion that some say could split the United Methodist Church.
The worst thing that could happen would be for us to take the language about marriage and the practice of homosexuality and ordination out of the discipline. The headline of every paper, the lead story of every television station in America would announce that the most influential mainline church in America has changed its mind about marriage. And that would be a tremendously destructive social witness.
That issue of whether to allow those in same-sex relationships to be ordained or to pastor churches is before the United Methodist body. In 2016, the bishops authorized delegates to get feedback on 3 possible new plans of action. The traditional plan would keep the current language and rules about homosexuality in the bylaws of the church, also called the Book of Discipline, including mandatory punishment for clergy who perform same-sex weddings. The One Church plan would remove all language against homosexuality. Clergy would be allowed to officiate same-sex weddings, and each congregation would vote on whether to allow it on their church property. The Connectional Conference plan would replace 5 jurisdictions with 3 new jurisdictions. Each would create their own bylaws or book of disciplines for the connecting churches to follow.
You start thinking about how much peace you got in your car.
Reverend Tally Gatson serves as senior pastor at St. Mark United Methodist Church in Taylors. She and her congregation of more than 250 people welcome all. She also is a part of the delegation from South Carolina headed to St. Louis.
There is a lot of fear, anxiety right now about what's going to happen to the church. The church as an institution, the denomination of United Methodism, is the church going to split? What's going to happen? Our church is going to leave. And you know what? The truth of the matter is any and all of those things can happen. But it doesn't change that we are the Church of Jesus Christ.
Kariah Spell is currently a musician at St. Mark. It's a place she and her partner call home. Raised in the Methodist faith, Kariah says while leaders contemplate this upcoming decision, the ultimate focus should be on God.
Me and God have a relationship. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is people having relationships with God.
And while she's well aware of the church's official view in their Book of Discipline on same-sex unions, she keeps her focus on a higher power.
Man wrote that. God has say. Man wrote that. That can be rewritten. That's what they're trying to do with this vote now. It's rewrite what man wrote years ago.
Church conservatives like Reverend Maxie Dunham, the president emeritus of Asbury Theological Seminary in Wilmore, Kentucky, hopes the church leaves things as they are.
My hope is that the traditional plan, of course, will prevail. Naturally, I hope that. I do believe that the decision there, whatever it is really going to be historic.
While the United Methodist Church has been on the forefront of change on a variety of social issues since their inception, this weekend's meeting is expected to be intense because people have strong feelings on both sides. Dr. Tom Norrell serves as pastor of Central United Methodist Church in Spartanburg.
There are protests. Protesters take over the platform, all this inside and outside the building.
Dr. Norrell and his congregation also opens their doors wide to everyone. However, he and Pastor Gatson both say they're unsure of how people will respond after this weekend's vote.
I've asked our people to please don't abandon ship, no matter which side of the aisle. Let us wait and see what options we have as a local church. I'm hoping that life here at Central will not change much.
The votes on this issue for the last 20 years have been almost 50-50. The special session is slated to start this weekend, February 23rd, and end on the 26th. Delegates will vote on one of 3 plans during that time. Implementation of the new plans will likely start in 2020.
Of course, to get more information on the plans this weekend and that vote that's going to happen, you can stay with us on WSPA.com. We have all the information there under links mentioned, and we'll update you on the vote this weekend.
An unprecedented